But anyway, so we're gonna start this now. Do you want a little?
Alright.
Do you want a little countdown?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast of death. It's certainly been a while. Well, not for these two gentlemen and myself. Today, I have with me Joey Morgan
Hello.
and Jacob Licklider.
I exist.
Yeah,
you do.
this is currently the third attempt at this episode of Podcast of Death.
All Brian's fault, by the way.
Second time I couldn't really control that. The first time was definitely my fault.
But we're talking about the Mythmakers today.
Yes, we are talking about the Mythmakers today.
Yeah, the Mythmakers.
Yay!
We're talking, of course, the long-running series of interviews produced, I believe, by Nicholas Briggs, starting in, 1984, maybe?
The wrong Mythmakers, Jacob. Wrong Mythmakers.
What?
We're talking about the William Hartnell story that had something to do with Greek myths.
Okay, I got it. I didn't watch this story in a long time. Because I was expecting a review of documentaries. So, yeah.
He is, of course, joking.
I am. I watched the story like 2 weeks ago.
I watched it like 3 weeks ago, and I still don't remember anything about this. So it's gonna be a hoot, hopefully. And by hoot, I mean really boring as shit for us, because this is our third time doing this.
I don't know. I'm re-energized in my love for this story because I just rewatched it today, so
Alright.
I'm quite excited to do this now.
Let's get into our first character, who is Odysseus. And Joey, because you've watched this you've watched this recently, you start us off.
So I found in my rewatch of this story to be that Odysseus I find Odysseus to be one of the less interesting characters of this story. I'm much more interested in the Trojan side of characters in this, though Odysseus does have a lot of great
because I
scenes
think Odysseus is the only Greek I put on here.
I mean,
Odysseus is the only Greek who has any sort of intelligence. I mean, in the story and in the myth.
I mean, in the story, Odysseus is really the only prominent enough Greek for you to remember, because I mean, you can remember the other characters as well. The Cyclops, and you got Agamemnon, and it's just the other characters are memorable enough. I think Odysseus is the most memorable, but he doesn't quite stick my mind as much as
when I was watching it that Agamemnon, or whatever the fuck his name is, and Cyclops often took a huge backseat.
They did, yeah.
And Odysseus was really the only one you got to know.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Cyclops is more prominent than what's his shit, but yeah, the two of them basically take a backseat to Odysseus, who's really just an asshole and kind of an uninteresting character. Jacob, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he's kind of an asshole. I like how he bullies the doctor around, but that's about it.
Yeah.
He just sort of is one of those characters who's like, well, I exist. And you will quote me
You've been
always.
saying that a lot today.
Have I? I might be having an I can't speak. An existential crisis. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
I think it's a possibility. So is that our thoughts on Odysseus out of the way?
I believe they are.
Okay, let's talk about Priam.
Priam.
Okay, Brian, I've decided it's Priam for sure. I was debating on it in the last 2 recordings, but I decided it's Priam now because I just watched the story, and not once in the story did they pronounce it Priam.
They always pronounce it Priam.
Well,
see, I'm right. Brian's wrong.
Then you can go ahead and tell Dylan he's wrong too.
Dylan is wrong. And this is one of those 1 in a million incidences. And I just found my orchestra pit schedule. I thought I lost this.
Hooray!
That's off topic, but
anyway,
Priam. I found that I fucking loved Priam in this one.
He is fun. He is just like...
He's funny. Like, he is really funny.
Priam's the old bastard who's nice to Vicky, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who's a dick to Cassandra.
Yeah. Well, everybody's addicted to Cassandra.
Shut up, Cassandra.
That could be the new Big Finish spinoff. Shut up, Cassandra.
Can we just include random clips of Cassandra's audio, just her going all crazy of like, there is going to be a spy or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll have enough energy to do that.
Well,
I found Prime to be absolutely hilarious in this. I loved him. I thought he was great.
You know what I realized? One of us could have probably started a backup recording just in case this screws up.
Yeah, that probably would have been a smart idea, but we didn't think about doing that before, so... well, let's hope this one doesn't fail.
Crossing your fingers. I won't invoke any of the theatrical stereotypes, except, of course, Macbeth.
I'm just now starting to question my way of doing things on this podcast. Like, maybe I should do the plot synopsis first, then the characters second.
I love we're questioning this, and we're in the middle of a podcast.
And Brian's just questioning the whole way he's been doing it for over a year now.
Yeah. I might change it up next episode.
So anything else to say about Prime? Jacob, what are your thoughts on Prime?
He's just fun. He's... who's he played by? Should probably
Let's find out, because I've got TARDIS Wiki pulled up. Dude.
Hold on, give me like 2 seconds. Is he the one played by Francis DeWolf?
No, he's played by Max Adrian.
He's the funny one. Yeah, the funny one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Prime's an alright dude. He's pretty chill. Again, because I didn't find this story memorable at all. Some of these characters I have written down here are slipping from my mind. Prime's one of them, but now that my memory has been jogged, I do remember enjoying Prime. And
yeah. Oh, I find it funny that some of the cast from the Mythmakers have done Mythmakers.
Have they?
Yeah, apparently.
Huh.
Wow.
The woman who played Cassandra might have.
Okay, so now that we're done with Priam, let's move on to Cassandra.
AKA the best character.
She's so good.
She's always right, but no one believes her.
I love that. The beautiful irony of her character is exactly that. And like, it just... Wow, what is it? There was a scene that I was specifically thinking of where somebody says to her that, like, that she's always wrong about everything in every prediction she's ever made. And I'm just sitting there like, this is not true at all.
She's been pretty right.
She predicts the doom of Troy to a T, and nobody listens to her.
They're all just like, shut the fuck up, Cassandra.
Cassandra, you can't just murder our guest who we found randomly in the desert near the camp of our
can't just murder our guest who may or may not be a Greek spy. Ugh, what is wrong with you?
Also, I love how one of the cliffhangers is like Stephen being like, Vicky, And it's like, see, I told you she was a spy. This Greek guy knows her. And they still don't believe her.
And then the cliffhanger is immediately resolved in the next episode, just for
and the
no
next
reason.
episode is called "The Death of a Spy." It's like,
and it has nothing to do with that at all.
Well, no, so much so that they have to make up a spy, so it's not like Vicky or Steven are gonna die.
Yeah.
Ooh, spies, death, woo! But yeah, Cassandra's...
I think Brian's lost his sanity.
I've done this podcast so many times now. And it's all because of my stupidity.
I was gonna say, if you say it's because of me, you know that.
And because of Jacob.
You know that's not true. Do I need to start doing a reading from a random book that I have on my shelf?
No.
Okay.
No, you don't.
No. Okay.
Let's move on to next character. Paris.
Paris.
Oh, he's a bastard.
He is.
Who is he?
I found him somewhat forgettable.
I mean, he's forgettable, but he just in the context of the story, this is all his fault.
Oh
is
yeah.
Is he
totally,
also the guy that kills Achilles and Achilles kills him or whatever?
What?
Who am I thinking of?
No, at the beginning of the story, Achilles kills Hector, who is Troilus' brother.
Yes, but then Achilles dies later on.
Yes, no, Troilus kills Achilles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paris is kind of a wimp throughout the entire thing.
So wait a minute. What happens to Paris?
Pretty much nothing.
It's weird. He's the one. Let's look at his track record. He gets asked by not one, not two, but 3 goddesses which one he would give the apple of discord to. 2, he gives it to Aphrodite because she promises him the most beautiful woman in the world, whatever wife he wants. 3, he has her steal Helen of Troy, who is already married to the king of Sparta by this point, Menelaus, who is, I believe he's a sir not appearing in this film, but he's he's in this film, but I don't remember. And he's not ginger, which is weird, because Menelaus is famously a ginger. That's like his thing. It's a big plot point in the Odyssey, but that's not the point. And 4, he doesn't do any of the fighting. Like, seriously.
And pretty much that's the only reason Paris is included in this story is because, he's a big part of the actual Greek myth. So once, they establish that in this story, he just kind of goes away and doesn't do much for the rest of it.
Huh. So that's what happened to him.
Yep.
I also love how this, a lot of the early historians are we can't change history. Yet this one has the doctors pretty much having the paradox happen and causing a paradox.
Well, Chatterton, my boy, we have to get Paris in there somewhere. All right. Troilus?
Troilus? Is that who we're on?
The love interest of Vicky that is totally unbelievable, and I will state this over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, he's terrible as a love interest for Vicky because it makes no sense and it's totally forced and comes out of almost nowhere.
Literally, Shakespeare and Chaucer say that it happened, so this is how we're getting rid of it. And
yeah, however, as I rewatched the story, I realized that he's actually a pretty decent character. Aside from the forced romance with Vicky, which does take up most of his scenes. But I find that specifically the actor playing him is pretty good. I can't think of the name right now. But
a lot of the actors in this are really, really good.
Yeah.
James Lynn. But yeah, basically Troilus is the whole reason why Vicky leaves in this story, which is kind of a shame, because again, I'm sure I pointed this out in the Hartnell retrospective, but it was originally pointed out in the original recording of this, that Vicky would have been so much better if she had gone the way Katerina did in Dalek's master plan.
See, the thing is, though, like, in Dalek Master Plan, you could kind of put Katarina's death down to naivety, which wasn't really Vicky's character. Well, yes, it would have been so much better than Katarina dying. I think, I think it would have been a lot more impactful, but Katarina's death is really down to naivety, and she thinks that the only way to save the Doctor, Brett, and Steven is by opening the airlock.
Yeah.
They could have wrote that.
And Vicky's just
Terry
smarter
Nation
than that.
could have just.
Oh yeah, it could have been written for
around.
Vicky, like to fit her character better. But yeah, I just think that she couldn't have done it in the exact same way that Katarina did.
But anyway, speaking of Vicky, her exit in this story is still pretty powerful. She walks out of the TARDIS and sort of.
She looks just so sad.
She just looks so sad. I mean, the Doctor and Vicky never fought. Ever.
They were like best friends.
I mean, Susan and the Doctor had arguments even before Sensorites where the Doctor says, "My granddaughter and I have never had an argument in all our years of traveling."
When they clearly had arguments even in the show before that point, but
exactly,
and not just in like expanded universe stuff where
But the Doctor never argued with Vicky.
It also doesn't help that Hartnell was just in a thoroughly pissed off mood at this point. Like, this is one of those stories where he starts to hate everybody.
Yeah, although at least he still liked Peter Purves at this point. So
didn't he always like Peter Purves?
Yeah, he always. I mean, that's the reason that they threw him in as Steven, because like Hartnell liked working with him as Morton Dill in The Chase. So, they threw him in as Steven.
Well, they've gone and done it again.
Poor Morton Dill from out. I was going to try to do the accent, but it didn't want to come out. It came this weird British thing. You must be making a movie.
Y'all from Hollywood.
Y'all from Hollywood?
The three Morton Dills are coming soon to Briarheart OT.
Oh, yeah. The bombastic adventures of Dylan Heath and Morton Dill.
We'll call it the three Dills, and it'll be Joey Dill, Jacob Dill, and Brian Dill.
We can do a sequel to Feast of Stephen called Ancestors of Stephen.
Ancestors of Stephen.
But anyway, back to
like a big story where Stephen met Morton Dill.
Back to whatever it's called, Mythmakers. Our final character to talk about is Katarina.
Katarina is just such a charming character.
She's just sort of there.
Yeah, I mean, I swear to you should say she exists.
She exists.
But,
I mean, I've never
I think I said that at least in the other two times we've recorded the podcast.
I really can't remember if you did.
It's an unpopular opinion of mine, but I actually find Katarina to be really weak as a companion.
She's better in Dalek's Master Plan.
She is, but she's still just sort of there to fill the Vicky.
The problem is that the writers didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah. Or I guess, all two of them that wrote for her.
John Wiles, and I love it. It's like there's the reason that Katarina didn't become a companion is like, well, we don't want to have a companion from the past that we have to keep explaining things to. Yet then, like, a year afterwards, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's like, let me just check the dates. Yeah, about a year afterwards, they introduced Jamie.
And they get him completely right.
Yeah.
But that wasn't under John Wiles. That was under Ernest Lloyd.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say that season 4 is probably one of my least favorite seasons of Doctor Who ever.
Season 4. Shut your face, Brian.
Yeah, shut up, Brian.
Okay.
Outside of Underwater Menace and The Smuggler, season 4 is great.
Okay, Smugglers is trash, but I enjoy the Underwater Menace because of how funny it is.
I was bored to tears by Underwater Menace, but yeah, Katarina's just sort of there in both stories she appears in.
I don't know. I like her in Dalek's Master Plan just because she's really charming and she has a lot of nice scenes with Hartnell.
Yeah. Imagine Jamie with Hartnell. That would have been interesting.
That would have been
I feel like the first Doctor would just have gotten into so many arguments with Jamie.
He would have thrown him off the ship faster than he could say Chatterton.
Chatterton.
He would have tossed Jamie out faster than he killed Katarina.
Right. If this adaptation thing works out, my intent is to do it for all the new adventures and missing adventures that haven't been adapted. I'm just warning you.
Shit. So anyway, yeah.
That includes the one where Dodo gets space syphilis.
Oh no.
That's why I mentioned it, because I remember Chatterton, and that's a thing in some of the novels, and then space syphilis.
Chesterton.
Yes! Space syphilis.
Space syphilis.
Chestertits, my dear, check the fornicator. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and read the plot synopsis that TARDIS Wiki gives, because again, I don't remember.
Let me read it in my really heart and voice. When the TARDIS original, I can't do it. Never mind. You go ahead, Brian.
When the TARDIS arrives on the plains of Asia Minor, not far from besieged city of Troy, the Doctor is hailed by Achilles as the mighty god Zeus and taken to the Greek camp. He meets Agamemnon and Odysseus. Forced to admit he is a mere mortal, albeit a traveler in space and time, he is given 2 days to devise a scheme to capture Troy. Stephen and Vicky, meanwhile, have been taken prisoners by the Trojans. Vicky, believed to possess supernatural powers, is given 2 days to banish the Greeks to prove she is not a spy. If you could understand that, I congratulate you.
I can understand it perfectly, but I have the page up right here, so...
Oh, I was not reading it, and I was able to understand you. Good job, Brian.
Good. So thoughts on the plot as a whole?
The plot.
It's actually really good,
strong.
especially... It's really easy to understand, especially considering it's like... This is a story that is like, has... practically no footage left.
I mean, like, other than the Doctor, Stephen, and Vicky, like, Donald Cotton pretty much had the plot laid out for him already. So, it couldn't have been that hard.
So much of it wrong.
That's, yeah, but as I was saying, it's, the plot was pretty much laid out for him. So, the plot is strong enough as it is. And what Donald Cotton did for the script, I think he just added a lot of charm to it, which just made it really fun to watch. Which Donald Cotton does with both of his Doctor Who stories. Both this and the Gunfighters, I think, are just really charming stories.
I fucking love the Gunfighters.
As do I.
I mean, I could really
the
care less
Gunfighters
about
is underrated.
This story as a whole, but I love
I mean,
Gunfighters
I think this
to
story is
bits.
better than the Gunfighters, because this story is amazing.
I find the Gunfighters to be better.
Oh, the Gunfighters is better, but both of them are good, I'd say. Both of them are funny.
It's your last chance of losing.
And there's no one to mind. Last chance saloon.
What did I tell you, Jacob, last time we were talking? You need to work on your rendition of that song.
Do I?
You do. In a Morton Dale voice.
I can't do that.
Yes, Lick Lipple, my boy.
It's your last chance of losing when there's no one to mind. It's your last chance of losing.
Okay, now you sound like someone from Invaders from Mars.
Do I?
Yeah. Whatever the gangster's name, he says something like, "I got my car from Capone."
Oh, the guy who's trying his hardest to be Marlon Brando.
Oh, God. I like Invaders from Mars. I think it's funny.
It's great. It's actually one of Mark Gatiss' good scripts.
It is. It is.
So it appears the general consensus on this story is that it
deserves a 9 out of 10.
It's a good story.
So,
I'm just wrong, apparently.
You are, but I do want to bring up 2 more things with this story. First off, Steven does absolutely nothing in this story.
Oh yeah, Steven is literally a fucking potato.
He stands around for a bit, gets locked in a cell, gets a wound, and then just carries over into Dalek's master plan.
Also, disclaimer: Peter Purves, we mean no disrespect to your acting chops. You are great.
Oh my god, I love his impression of Hartnell for his early adventures.
Yeah.
And we're getting the full season.
The first time I listened to Peter Purves do his Hartnell was when I listened to Flywheel Revolution, which is a short trip.
It sounds nothing like Hartnell, but it's so charming.
It is. But speaking of which, the other thing I wanted to bring up was how good Hartnell is in this story.
Yeah, Hartnell's amazing. I mean, even though he called the director of this one a fool.
Like, didn't Hartnell call nearly every director he worked with a fool, though?
This was one where William Hartnell, he was injured by a camera.
Jesus Christ!
Was he really?
His aunt
Harrison Ford much?
No, his aunt, who had looked after him during his troubled childhood, died, and he could not take time off to attend her funeral. This led to him becoming difficult to work with during the production, refusing to speak to Max, Adrian, or Francis DeWolf, and declaring director Michael Leaston Smith a fool.
At least he didn't do to this director what he did to Henrik Hirsch, though.
What did he do to Henrik?
Okay, Henrik Hirsch deserved it.
Henrik Hirsch passed out because Hartnell kept yelling at him during the Reign of Terror.
Jesus Christ!
Henrik Hirsch couldn't direct the actors.
So, what are your theories as to who directed episode 4?
It was Verity Lambert who's like, shit. Right?
I was like, okay, just do this.
It's like Verity's right.
Jesus Christ, Heinrich!
Maybe if we had episode 4 of Reign of Terror, we'd be able to tell, but we don't even know.
Yeah. No, it's either Verity Lambert or Tim Coombe.
A lot of people say that John Gorey did it.
Yeah, but all the evidence suggests that John Gorey didn't do it because he wasn't near the BBC at the time.
I want to do a reading of Romeo and Juliet, but it's entirely made up of Hartnell impressions.
I like him doing that.
You know,
if I could get everybody in our little friend group together to do their Hartnell impressions for Romeo and Juliet, I'd be
all the female characters do it well doing a Hartnell impression.
Oh god. I was gonna say something about the historicals. Though Hartnell was harsh on a lot of the directors during historical stories, I think it was mostly because Hartnell loved every historical script he was handed, and you could tell that in all of his performances, especially in this one.
Yeah, I think he also was annoyed that he heard that a certain Maureen O'Brien was leaving because he liked Maureen O'Brien.
Yeah.
I think he liked her spunk. Well, if you want me to dye my hair black, why don't you just get Carol Ann Ford back?
Yeah. Loved that. But then there's John Wiles.
I don't hate John Wiles.
Was Maureen O'Brien still paid for the 4 weeks that she didn't work?
Anyway, they're getting into things that I know nothing about, so I think it's time to end the podcast.
Yes. Okay. Remember, 9 out of 10. Subscribe to Briarheart02. Subscribe to Joey Morgan, and double subscribe to Jacob Licklider.
I think negative subscribe to Jacob Licklider. Don't subscribe to Briarheart02, and triple subscribe to Joey Morgan.
I think
basically subscribe to all of us.
I think I'm
sure. If they really want to. But Brian, I think we all have the channel that they really want to go to.
Brian, if this doesn't work, we are not recording it again.
It's okay. The recorder hasn't crashed so far, and I'm about to click stop recording. My microphone's on, and I think we did it, guys. So before something does go wrong, I'm going to end this. Bye, everybody. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to these two lovely people, but mainly subscribe to Joey because he deserves more subscribers.
He does.
And
thank you, Jacob. He also episodes from
And oh shit, what's the next one we're doing? Next one's Happiness Patrol. Bye, guys.
On that one too.